Clayton here reminded me of Mario or Luigi. I
Yeah.
guess Luigi with the green shirt and the mustache. I'm Luigi.
Okay. You should have said that, that's his nickname. Or Luigi. Okay. Grandpa.
Whoa, now we're getting personal.
Wow.
We're gonna make sure that goes on the record.
It's true.
Yeah. I guess.
Wow.
All right, where is it? I need to be fast tonight, and my stupid Dropbox is installing an upgrade, so that's really.
Of course it is. The agenda's right there if you want to use that. I can hand you paper one down here if you want. I don't think more than one table, I don't know.
Oh, I think let's just,
Initials. Initials, Jeremy, not from you, Shannon, from Jeremy. Keep passing.
That's what I thought. But then you said initials again, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, no worries.
you can put my initials on there, you know what they are.
See, I'm not doing.
I will not forge, Jeremy, you're trying to trap me.
No. It's not forgery if I give you approval.
Jeremy? You told me just.
I know, because last time you copied him, it wasn't all good.
Okay. Well, I got in trouble with anything, I signed the thing saying I signed.
Probably
it.
inaccurate
I signed
anyway.
His name. Got yelled
Okay, I think
We've been going for 45 minutes, what do you mean?
all right.
Well, we can try to speak, I was here.
Yeah, but you're on YouTube.
We are, I mean, we're live.
Are we currently
Is that
live?
what they watch us on, the YouTube?
Yeah,
All
we're
right.
live.
Let's get started. The Francis City Council meeting Thursday, May 11th, 6 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Shannon, will you lead us in the pledge?
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, first things first. Check register and minutes. Check register dated May 11th, and the minutes from April 13th meeting. And somebody's being summoned.
Oh, just another Queen application, so I guess that's kind of.
That's a good deal.
Business, city
That's a good
business.
deal.
I guess that's kind of city business.
That's a good deal. All right, anybody have any questions on either of those items? If not,
Do we have another lift station malfunction or something for
No.
15,000? Or is,
not another lift station malfunction, but continuing, not necessarily malfunction, but just we were being overrun and infiltrated with stormwater with runoff. And so we had to keep the pumps going, otherwise the lift station would have overflowed
okay.
for a long, long time. So, yeah, it wasn't necessarily, we were having some trouble with the pumps, we got that remedied, but the problem was that we just couldn't keep up with the flows.
Okay, no, I mean, it was just a large amount.
Yeah, during this couple
Oh.
of weeks when it was kind of western, so, yeah. I don't love that, but nothing we can do about that. Yeah, so that, I should have actually brought that up, but glad you pointed it out.
Well, then I will make a motion to pass the check register and pay the bills for May 11th.
Okay,
No, not May 11th,
yeah,
April 13th to May 11th.
there you go. You want to include the minutes or no? We can do it separately, you know.
Yeah,
we just have-
and the minutes of last meeting. What was that? April 6th.
Perfect.
I'll second that.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay. We'll open this up for public comment for all of the public that's here. And seeing none, we'll close the public comment. We'll move to item 3 on the agenda, which is the ADU code text, or the ordinance to adjust the ADU code.
Okay,
Katie?
thanks. So I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet tonight with this. Accessory dwelling units or ADUs. They're like the mother-in-law apartments or houses, or you have a garage and you have an apartment above that, that's an external ADU. There's also internal ADUs, like a basement apartment. It's basically someone having a whole other dwelling on their property. And we do have code that regulates this, and the state legislature has made a lot of changes recently on that code. And they made some more changes this last session. So we have to make some adjustments for that so that we're meeting state law. So, and there is one thing that it's not required, but I think it's a good change. Planning Commission is still working on this code. So this part, we're doing all the parts that we have to do, plus the ones that they like. There was one part that they wanted to discuss more, and that had to do whether we wanted to require accessory dwelling units to be owner occupied, meaning that an owner has to live either in the primary dwelling or in the accessory dwelling. And they couldn't decide on that, so we're gonna talk about that a little bit more this month. But for now, let's just make these changes so we comply with state law. So the changes are, before they let us exclude 25%, up to 25% of our residential areas from allowing internal accessory dwelling units. So we chose to exclude anything in the residential cottage zone. And we can't do that anymore. Anything that was built after, or had final plat approval after October 1st, 2021, we cannot exclude. And almost everything almost everything we have in the residential cottage zone was built recently. It's new construction, so we can't exclude it. So we have to change our code to say that they're allowed in pretty much any residential zone other than multifamily housing. The other thing that we have to change is we used to have a minimum size for the internal accessory dwelling units. We said that it had to be at least 400 square feet. We can't do that. They said that we can't regulate based on size. We, didn't have anything in there about garages, but they even said they could be allowed in a garage and it's habitable. So they are really limiting what we can and can't restrict with these. So those are the changes that we have to make, those two. And then there's another one that I think is a good idea, because we've had one developer, at least that I know, approach me, and I've heard of other cities having the same problem, where they come and say, okay, you have to allow the internal accessory dwelling units in a residential zone. We want to come in and build duplexes, and for all intent and purposes, one side's going to be the primary, one side's going to be the accessory dwelling. They happen to be the same exact size, or maybe one's a little smaller, but it's a duplex. It looks like a duplex. We want our single family zones to look like single family zones. So I recommend making a change, and the Planning Commission approved this one too, that says an IADU is prohibited in single family attached dwellings such as duplexes, twin homes, townhomes, and quadplexes. So I think that helps to tap that down and not allow it.
And that still complies with the state law?
It does comply. We are allowed to do that for the state law, at least for now. At least for now. We also say that you can only have one connection, utility connection, water and sewer. If it with a primary adult dwelling that has an internal accessory dwelling in it, so that also helps because then they can't have two.
Yeah.
So they have to share utilities, so that makes it hard to have that duplex situation.
When you said that they changed, remind me on the size restrictions, we can't limit the minimum size, but can we still limit the maximum size?
Yes, we have a lot more that we can do with external accessory dwelling units.
Also, it's the external that we can.
So on the externals, we have a maximum size of 1,000 square feet.
If this is only.
The
for
internals, we
internal.
cannot limit maximum, we can't stipulate a maximum size. It has to be smaller. I think that all it says is that it's subordinate to the primary dwelling, but the state law really doesn't allow us to restrict based on size for internal accessory dwellings. Okay, so looking at the code, you'll just see these changes that I talked about. I'm striking, I'm just saying that it's adding that we can have it in the residential cottage zone. And then I took out that they're not allowed in the RC zone, and it's only the multifamily residential zones that they're not allowed in for residential. Okay, this one is that one that prohibits an IADU in a single family attached dwelling, such as duplexes, twin houses, townhomes, and quadplexes. So that covers us on a couple fronts. Someone happens to have a townhome that's in a, I don't know why they have probably in like a conservation subdivision, if they had a townhome, they can't have an accessory dwelling in that. And they can't make an accessory dwelling. They can't do that with a duplex that I was talking about. So this kind of covers us on two fronts, I think. That's the intention. And then this one takes out that minimum size, since we're not allowed to do that. And then adjusting some numbering. I think that covers it. Maybe I took out an and up here because we have it here. We just want one and, the very second to last numbered item. So that's it for me. Planning Commission is forward with a positive recommendation. And I recommend that you at least approve the ones that are required by the state, and you can talk about the other one. If you want to make changes to that, that's fine, but anyway, that's it for me. This is a public hearing for everybody that's here to talk about it.
Right, okay. Anything from staff before I open and close the public hearing?
That is it for me, unless Scott wanted to throw something in there.
Okay, so I'll open the public hearing. Since there's no public hearing, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion. Anybody have anything, concerns, questions?
So in that amendment, with the single-family attached dwellings such as duplexes, twin homes, does that cover us broadly? Or are we gonna be stuck to those four examples?
The intent is to cover us broadly. If you could think of other language that would do that, I would be welcoming that, because I do want our code to be plain and easy to understand.
Right.
I don't want to have any loopholes.
How about such as but not limited to
Okay.
duplexes, twin homes, townhomes?
Yep,
Yeah, we could add that.
I like that.
Yeah. That would pretty well cover anything and everything, so. Okay, anything else? All right, so it is an ordinance, if we wanna pass this. So the ordinance is 2023-04. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to pass ordinance number 2023-04
With your correction.
with with the recommended correction, yeah.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Are these supposed to be roll call?
Yeah, because it's an ordinance.
Okay. The mayor is aye. Shannon.
Aye.
Sam.
Aye.
Clayton.
Aye.
And Clint.
Aye.
Right. It's unanimous. You just want me to sign this one? Oh, no. Do you want me to sign this one or wait? Well,
Well,
we'll
I'll
sign
have
it.
to change
And you'll
the,
just have to change the.
ordinance itself is okay.
Pass that down. Thank you. All right. Next item, Ashley Lemon, septic tank. Who's taking this one, Scott or Katie?
Okay. Well, actually, was submitted a building permit to build, kind of as you go down the Dugway. You know,
On 32, right?
32 as you're heading towards Heber, right as you go past Steve Fitzgerald and you drop down the hilltop. There's a driveway that goes over where the old road used to go around. They own that property, and he's wanting to build a house over there. The sewer line ends at the top of the hill and heads towards Hilltop. And the water line goes down and heads to the state park. So we can connect with water, but the sewer, he's a ways away, and you would have to pump. And it'd be like 1,200 feet and across property that he doesn't own. So he's requesting to put a septic tank since he's not within the required 600 feet we have in our ordinance. We just have to get city council to approve him to do a septic tank.
So, go ahead.
No, explain to me where it is again. Like, I know the old house. Where is this old
Just
house?
west of,
It's like halfway down, if you're going down the Dugway, you're halfway down the hill.
Yeah.
There's a driveway that goes to the south.
oh.
It's all the way up there.
That's what I thought, looking at the address, I'm like, if I have to stop there and deliver mail, I'm not gonna want to stop there and
I don't
deliver
know.
mail.
More than put their mailbox.
I'll make him put it down by the.
So it's on the south side of 32.
Yeah, it's on the south side of 32.
You know how the road used to bend and turn
Yeah,
like that?
that's okay.
That's where
I was even
thinking.
confused then.
Yeah,
Don't listen to me, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay,
it's over there.
okay.
All
So
right.
that's where he's wanting to build. It's kind of, I don't know, you probably won't be able to see his house very well once he gets built.
So any concerns with the septic system there?
No, they just gotta get Summit County approval. We had an engineer design it, but they'll have to meet the requirements and submit a permit back to us that Summit County approved it.
Okay. All right, any other discussion from council? Okay, I will just say I'm generally against septics inside the city, but I don't know.
Yeah,
If there's a lot of other options for him, I mean, that seems pretty, his request seems realistic, I guess I should say.
yeah, because you have to run his lateral from his house up 32.
His letter says 1,250 feet,
Yeah, we've got,
and then it'd have to be pumped.
yeah, that'd be fine. We've got a water line and a pressure sewer line coming from the state park on the side of that road. So that would just put another utility, his lateral, that, 10 years from now, if somebody's digging out there, whether or not he'd mark it or no, or whatever,
Right.
it'd just be somebody's private utility out in that, right away, or.
Where is our sewer line on the south side or the north side?
It is on the south side, it's right by, Steve Fitzgerald's red farm,
Okay,
right
yeah,
about where the door is, and then it shoots across the road over to Hilltop.
but it comes up the south side of the hill.
Yeah, but the pressure line comes up along about where the guardrail is, and then dumps into that manhole.
Right.
Okay, so we won't have to dig up the road or,
No,
And
we can't have him connected to that pressure line either, because it's a pressure line,
oh,
if it was a low pressure sewer system, we could, but since it's not the low pressure, it's just a regular pressure line, Each time that pump would come on, it could go.
Push everything up.
They go check out what is on it.
Yeah.
So he won't be on city water?
He will be on city water.
Oh, okay.
Water
It's
line,
not sewer.
yeah,
But
the water
just
line
not
runs
the
down
sewer.
over the hill, down by the duck bills, we got a pyramid down there, that's where the
Okay.
State Park connects and heads out to the rock cliffs.
All right. Any other questions, concerns? I'll entertain a motion on that one if that's the case.
I'll make a motion that we allow for the installation of the septic system.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, that's passed. On to the next, Tree City discussion. We talked about this a little bit last month. We just got to decide if we want to be a Tree City or not. Were you gonna talk about this at all, Katie?
Yeah, I can. So, we talked about it last month. This comes from, this request to decide whether we want to be a tree city comes from Luke, our Public Works Department head. We just need to know if we want to be a tree city or not. If we want to be a tree city, one of the benefits is that sometimes it's easier to get grant money to get new trees. The downside is that we have to have an Arbor Day celebration every year, usually about this time of year. People want to be working in their own yard, not really want to be over at the city property, so it's usually just staff and maybe some council members. From what I heard, we didn't really get a big turnout when we used to have that Arbor Day celebration. The other downside is our current code says that we have to have a certified arborist plant or on site when we plant new trees. It's very restrictive. There's really no way that we can meet our code the way that we do things now. So either way, we're gonna have to change the code, but deciding whether or not to be a tree city will help me know how we change the code. So I just need to know if we wanna be a tree city or not, and then I know how to change the code. Any other questions, I guess?
So the way I understand it then, tonight, we're to decide whether we want to be, continue to be a tree city or not.
Right.
Right, yeah, just
Okay.
need to know
No research, no extra work, nothing has to go into it.
either way is okay.
Uh-huh.
Luke did say it takes him 1 or 2 days a year to fill out the paperwork to be a tree city, so that's another consideration. That's a little extra time for him. But I think, either way is fine with us. We just need to know if that's something that's important to the council, or if you're fine with not being a tree city.
Okay, so the way I understand it, the benefit would be the possibility of getting grant money,
Specifically for trees.
specifically for the tree plant.
Specifically for
Typically,
trees.
yeah.
And Luke said, we can still get grant money. In fact, last year we got grant money for trees, and that didn't have anything to do with us being a tree city. So we can still get money. It's not like you have to be a tree city, but I think it makes it looks good. It makes it a little easier if you're trying to get money to buy trees.
We could get the biggest benefit. We get to have a sign on the highways.
Right, this is what-
There's that. I didn't mention that, but that is true. We get the sign.
We change the number every year.
Right. For how many years we've been here, so.
I don't love the you have to attached to it.
That was gonna be my next question, is there any downfall to not being
Well,
labeled a tree city? Is
So, no, not really, but the thing is, the have to is in our code, so if we wanted to remain a tree city,
there-
we
Right.
can change our code to say,
We can relax it a little bit and still be a tree city.
right, the only real thing that, we would have to do is hold a annual Arbor Day, that's one of the requirements to be part of the tree city program. But other than that,
So we could,
the restrictions are self-inflicted, if that makes sense, we can change
the arborist thing, we could get,
I think we could take that out. I'd have to do some more I have to do some research and see what they require we have in our code. So I just have to research it.
The only downfall is we no longer have a sign that says we're Tree City USA. I mean, really, that's
yeah, but how many people know that anyway, though?
not very good.
The requirement for the arborist, is that a cost to the city to have him on staff or on site?
Yeah, and I don't think the Tree City, I don't think we're required by Tree City USA to have the arborist here watching us plant trees or supervising that. I think that was something that we got some example language from an arborist, and of course that was in
Of
there.
course, well,
I think he just liked me.
Well, I think we followed the, back when we originally signed up, they followed the standard form they sent and said, here's a code that you can use.
Right, I'm sure they love that stuff, but
We just said, here we go, we're gonna adopt this because it's the standard that they use.
Right.
Yeah, like Clint said, I don't really like being held to other people's standards. I'd rather us make those decisions, but
How long have we been one?
I have no idea.
I know
This
it
sign
was
said
like
8 years.
8
yeah,
years?
it's been a
I was
while.
gonna say, no, it's been a.
It's been a while.
I don't think we're irresponsible as far as planting trees.
You can still plant trees,
That's the thing,
it's not-
right?
Yeah, we can still do anything we want without being a tree city, so.
Well, I'm okay not doing it.
I think it sounds like there's more negatives than positives.
Well,
It's more of a hassle to the city than it is a.
it is a hassle, and something,
Yeah.
you know, I'd have to research what they require, change our ordinance to match what they need, at probably the minimum of what they require, and then we have to have the paperwork filled out, have to have the Arbor Day celebration, so then we all have to come out and plant some trees.
It's just one more thing to plan.
More thing, yeah. Now, what do we need to do if we decide not to be a tree city? What impact does that have on us? Just
I will look at
fill out-
our code and decide with Luke what we want to keep, if anything,
Okay.
on what says.
Yeah, there's no.
There maybe there's some things that make sense to keep, but I'll talk to Luke and figure out what that is.
But
Or
there's
maybe
no
we just
like,
exit, I don't know, we'll see what Luke wants to do, I'll really take his lead on
yeah, there's no punishment, there's no,
Yeah.
you know, it's just literally, we either stay signed up or we don't, that's it. As I understand it.
it. I think so, that's what it was explained to me.
There's no public shaming in Tree City.
Well, there might be, but we don't care.
We don't get opened up for public lobbying or anything.
Who's gonna make us take the sign down?
I don't know. Well, my opinion is, why don't we not be a tree city? And in a year or two, if we think we're really hurt because we're not, we can always sign back up.
That's right.
It's true.
That's
So
right.
that's true.
I'm gonna agree with that.
I would agree with that as well. I don't think there's any real compelling reason to keep doing this.
So that was Sean's motion to,
Yeah, is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that one.
All right. All in favor of not being a tree city?
Aye.
Okay, so something's under research, Shannon, so it's still kind of.
Oh my gosh, I said, let's not be a tree city, and if in a couple of years we want to, we'll sign back up.
Okay, we are no longer a tree city.
Okay.
Next thing, budget. Suzanne, that's your arena. What time do you need to leave?
6:45, so if you have anything in the next 15 minutes, let me know.
Right. Is there anything on here that we need to
Do
skip
you
to
have
before we go to
fun
budget?
things at the end to tell us?
I don't really have anything other than, we've been making some good headway on designing the new city hall, and I'm really excited about it. We had a meeting with them today. It went really well. We got to pick out the inside finishes, the flooring, the paint. I think it's gonna look really nice. We had a couple options for the exterior. There was one that was more like, they're both neutral colors, one that was more browns and another one that was like grays and it had some red trim. It looked the gray and red trim looked just like a fire station.
True.
Yeah.
So we decided, we kind of thought of some options without, decided not to do it. So we just went with the tan one. I think it's gonna look really good. I'm excited to show you what we've come up with. We're gonna have an open house in July on it. Anyway, I think it's gonna look great. I'm excited. So that's one thing on my
Yeah, we should be
radar.
getting ready to work on this midsummer, yeah, as far as construction goes.
Yeah, it'll probably be, if we're having the open house in July, you know, we could be supposed to be putting that photo on it, so it should be maybe a little bit more for this fall. So we can-
Yeah.
Get that thing rolling, so.
Yeah, the other thing is the parks. We've had a lot of grant money in the last few years for our parks. And so we've been meeting every couple of weeks to talk about what we need to do to make sure we spend that money. We made some really good progress on that too. So Jeremy just signed a proposal for landscape architect services, so she's gonna start working on that Monday. Getting a plan for the Wild Willow Park, has the pump track and the bike features. She should have that done by the end of this month. She's gonna get going on right away, which is fantastic. And we also have really good news that Scott just got recently, that we got some more grant money to pave the walking path in that park. So that's gonna be really nice to have an asphalt path.
We're only gonna be able to pay, the perimeter trail is all the way around the park.
Right.
And UDOT said, we wanna give you some money, we don't have enough money to give you all of it, but if we paved at least one path, from Wild Willow over to the Stonehaven, is that good? And then the other could be gravel, we can pay it in the future, as money allows. So,
We'll
yeah,
take
give us-
it, yeah.
give us money.
I thought it was a little big, so I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah, so we got, what, 72,000?
Yeah, so that's exciting news, and we are making some really good headway on those things. We're expecting the new playground for the park that's right out here to be delivered in July. And we're getting ready to order tables and benches and gazebos and get some concrete work done here.
Yeah, it'll be nice. We're gonna have a really nice park when we're done with this.
And we're gonna have like 3 really nice parks when we're done with this. So that's gonna be good. That's pretty much it for me, unless anyone has any questions before I go.
I have one thing real quick. I had Suzanne print me up that code about the litter, because I'm still driving by there every day. And for the last week, it's still stuck in the fence. Now, I do think they cleaned it up after we told
Yeah, I looked over there and it looked a lot better to
them.
me.
It is a lot better, but they're not maintaining.
Okay.
And then there's insulation in the ditches, there's all sorts of garbage in the ditches, so I was wondering, do we have to, and reading this, I have answers to my questions now, but we don't have to monitor that. They're supposed to do that at the end of every day, clean that up. And then, looks like they only get one warning for a calendar year. So, I live right there, I'm not happy to see their garbage all over all the time. My experience with Rusty in the year and a half I've been here is, he knows the rules, he'll skirt the rules unless he gets called out on them. And then he'll apologize and take care of it, and I'm not a fan of that. So, everything I see in here, it has to stay in a dumpster, it can't even be on property. In their ditches, in their field and all that sort of stuff. And if I was a farmer across the street and I had their roofing bags tied up in my fence and all over my field, I wouldn't be very happy about it. I don't think that's being a respectful neighbor or respectful builder for Francis. So I want to see that get cleaned up and changed. And whatever we have to do to make him understand that needs to stay clean. That's a lot of construction waste to have there. And I drive through it 3-4 times a day. So
Yeah, so you definitely see it.
I see it all the time.
Would you be willing to meet with Rusty out there and show him all the areas?
Sure.
Because I feel like when I've said, hey, I'm seeing this place, it's cleaned up like that.
It is, and I'm not saying they don't.
But I do think it's important for them to maintain it.
I mean, I work in
I don't wanna
construction,
tell them
I
what
know
to
being
do.
a laborer, and they say, hey, it's 4 o'clock or whatever, do the rounds, clean everything up, we can't have anything on the ground.
Yeah.
That's in the code, that's their responsibility, they need to do it.
So would you be willing to meet me out there with him? I'll bring the code,
Yeah.
I'll explain that all to him, every night it seems to be cleaned up, and here's where we're seeing the problems.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll just set that up next
and
week.
for me, it's obvious, it's not like you're gonna miss it. Right there on Lambert, there's white plastic stuck in the barbed wire fence across the street. I don't know how anybody can miss that, and they drive by it for a week straight. I mean,
Yeah, we can look into it and then, it might be a good idea to meet out there with them.
Sure.
See what we can do.
So, we do have some pretty strict enforcement on this, and I think it's a good thing. And I'm not afraid to enforce it, but my goal is compliance always. So I always try to get compliance, I don't wanna have to use
right.
the enforcement if I don't have to, but if I need to, we can use it.
Well, that's my suggestion isn't that, hey, we're gonna nail you on it.
Right.
But I want them to understand it's expected to be cleaned. And if it's 1 or 2 papers that fly out, I get that. but that's not what it is. You got batting insulation laying in the ditch. Like somebody needs to walk that ditch at the end of the day and just clean it out.
Especially if it's a windy day.
Right, but they've got all that water coming out of there, and if they start plugging up those culverts, we might have more problems.
Right, all right.
Okay,
But that's all I had.
no, I think that's reasonable.
Anything else planners wise before we
for me.
excuse you and go to the budget? Okay, thanks. You can take out whenever you can.
Oh, yeah, I'll just hang out for a few more minutes and then I'll get back.
Suzanne, budget.
So you should have a copy of the amended budget, where I've gone through the budget and tried to amend things. There are some spots where money hasn't been spent. And I've talked with Katie and Luke about it, and they're gonna try to spend that on some of this park stuff.
You're talking the amended or we have
On
the
the-
tentative?
You have an amended one too.
Yeah, we have those.
Oh,
It's
I just showed you the tentative one in the.
okay, no, I see it
Budget
now.
amendment.
I've got it. I've got it. We're good.
So if you look at the revised and the original budget, it'll show you the changes that were made. But there is money in, was it parts of buildings, I can't remember. There was 80,000 and only 10 of it had been spent. So they're working on trying to get that other 70,000 spent. So I have an invoice before the end of the year.
So that can go towards anything.
30th of June.
Our
fiscal year.
Yeah, so part of that, so part of that we're using for, so the grant allows us to do certain things to the park, and then we had to have budget for other certain things, and so that money we're using, I can't remember exactly what's excluded in the.
The benches, the
Yeah,
tables,
but
the
the
gazebos.
tables, those
I think
things
we
are
can probably use it for the shade, but their landscaping was excluded from the grants.
So that's what that extra in the budget will cover, is those things that are excluded by the grant.
Usually they want to try to kind of match the grants, don't they?
Yeah, they like to show that you're putting in some of
Right.
your resources, that you have like skin in the game.
Well, I know I brought this up last year, and we basically said, pro for the budget, but it was refinishing the floor in the concession stand.
Refinishing the floor.
Yeah,
I don't remember that discussion.
I don't remember anyone in council saying that.
I said while we were in there.
In
Oh,
the shacks?
Yeah, in the shack. Cause it's,
so I don't know about that. What was your,
Yeah, I haven't,
what were you thinking with resurfacing it, or what's your
or
idea?
I haven't been there for a while, but to my memory, it's just like dirty cracked concrete. When you put like epoxy floor in there, it makes it a lot easier to clean up.
Like the garage floor, what they do
Yeah,
on
kind of
those.
like that. And there might be some cracks or unlevel spots that they can smooth out and fill in. That was just one of the things I was noticing, that if we had the extra money, that we could use it in there, especially, if it's gonna get as busy as it did last year, but I don't know if we get more.
I'll look at it.
I didn't have that in any of my notes.
I don't think it was ever official, it was just I said it, and it was like, oh, yeah, bring that up in the budget meeting. I think that's about as far as that went.
There is an elevation change in the floor from one section to the
There
other.
is for sure,
Yeah, and it's,
an inch or so probably.
yeah, it's in, but I didn't, I don't remember the conversation either, but it, there is that, but it's
I
something
think
to
I
think
remember
about.
hearing it, but it wasn't from any council member.
Right. Well, I know we have had informal discussions too about maybe revamping that a little bit.
Yeah,
So I don't know if we, I do understand Clayton's concern, I don't want to minimize that, but to throw money at that, if we're gonna tear the place up eventually.
Yeah.
But,
well, yeah, that actually is something we probably ought to start looking at. Maybe we can find a grant that would help us to pay for rebuild on that thing.
it's not a bad idea, because if somebody was to trip and fall, we do have volunteers for Frontier Days.
Right.
It does open the city to liability.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of, it would be nice to kind of update, redo. There's a lot of things we can change about that building. So maybe we need to either decide, do we want to put money into what's currently there? Do we want to look for possibilities in the next couple of years to rebuild it? I don't know what the answer to that is, but we can start to have this.
So that would be something you want to for your tentative budget, you look at that.
Right, for sure.
See where we can talk about that. I've tried to put in the tentative things that I've been given lists on.
And I would defer to you that's been here a whole lot longer. In the 2 years I've been working that, I've seen we're kind of expanding and we're getting bigger.
Right.
So I'm not so sure that little shack is, if we keep growing and we build out with everything that we have allowed for, is that building even gonna be large enough?
Right, no, I agree. It might be, that's why I actually said that, is it might be, it brings up a really good point, that it might be something we need to start looking at
Bigger footprint.
the next year or two to just completely rebuild that.
Just when I look at grants, I've seen some where, if you do this, like a workspace, sometimes you need a grant money for that. So would you be open to, we rebuilt it or remodeled, renting it out as a commercial kitchen workspace for like a food truck or something? Is that something you want to do? You can apply to get grant money for that. It might be hard to get grant money, we're just using it once a year on 2 days, but if we have some kind of economic or business side of it, then I can think of a grant that we might be able to apply for.
I think we could consider that.
I don't think that's a bad idea at all. It's revenue for the city.
I'll see what I can find out about that.
Okay.
But like, so when they're having like soccer games and stuff like that, is that ever open?
But that's, I think what
But
she's
that's
talking about, what we
something
can
that
do.
If a vendor came and said, hey, during that soccer game, I want to run out of your kitchen, okay, so that's much money to do it.
Yeah, so people that run food trucks, they don't really cook all their food in the truck. They usually rent out commercial kitchen space, they make things there, and then they put it in the truck and take it.
Right, well, he's even saying like.
Oh, yeah,
soccer
I'm gonna
tournaments, they
here,
could have a-
sure. Yeah, that same thing, if you wanted to.
The soccer club wanted to do a concession stand, we could rent the thing to them.
Yeah, just have to have the health certificate like we have.
Right,
Right.
yeah, but that would be on them, they just have to
Right.
provide that to us. So, yeah, actually, that's a good idea. Okay, so we'll look at that, so in the next year or so, maybe we can add that in the budget, or get the grant, that would be even better. Anything else on the amended, Suzanne?
No, just as I know, we're working on trying to use our money this year for.
And so, do you want to explain, because everyone here is relatively new, what budgets have to balance to zero and where we can carry some over, and what percentages those are in the current budget?
Well, so like at the end of the year, we have to have less than 25%.
25% of our overall budget.
But all I do is I go through each item and see what we could have been doing for, and try to figure out what I think is coming in.
Right.
And that's how I go through each line item in the budget.
Right. But like, so all of our, say, enterprise funds, we can carry some money, right?
Enterprise funds don't have to come to a zero balance. The general budget has to come to a zero balance.
The general fund does.
The water.
So things like water, sewer, roads.
Yeah.
Those.
Well,
can
roads is in
carry
your
those.
general fund, so with
Oh,
that.
roads is a general fund.
So your enterprise funds are your water, your sewer, we have frontier days,
And so those can carry money each year,
those don't have to,
but the general
Balance
fund
to
has to
zero.
balance to zero. And so one of the things that we do, or that we can do, correct me if I'm wrong on this, one of the things that we can do is if we have an excess of revenue in our budget at the end of the fiscal year, one of the things we can do is transfer a certain portion of that to places like capital improvements or capital projects, which is how we've saved money for the building and things like that. And so that's what we always, the goal is always to balance that budget and be under that percentage, because if we're over that percentage, we have problems.
so like if you look at your annexation fees on your amended budget, it's gonna show that we got in $1,081,000. I don't think that was originally budgeted for, so at the end of the year, we're transferring like $1 million something to the capital projects.
Right.
So that influx, is that part of the annexation project?
Those
That we got
are
the $1 million?
annexation fees, yeah.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, ask if I can answer them. If I can, I'll find out if it was.
Yeah, so you'll see
I'm
on
not an
the,
accountant.
on the annexation fees, we actually brought in $1 million and we budgeted 2,500.
Mhm. And then like your building permit fees and things like that, that we don't know. I've always tried to kind of figure out how many homes we might have in, I'll find out how many we had in last year, what's it looking like, do we got more or less?
Right.
And I'll usually go on the lower end, put that in for the budget, because if we get more, it's okay, but I don't wanna go the other way.
Right.
So on your impact fees and stuff like that. So like building permits, they average 15,000. So for this new tentative budget we're doing this year, I averaged 20 homes times the 15,000. And that's what the amount is, it's gonna show there. And the same thing on quality impact fees.
But yeah, so those numbers would be the tentative budget.
Mhm,
Okay, so on this amended budget,
mhm.
when is this that we need to approve the amended budget?
So we'll do the amended and the tentative all next month.
Right. They have to be approved by
Has
the
to be
next
in the
meeting.
paper, yeah, it has to be into the state. by June 30.
So yeah, look this over, make sure you're comfortable with it. On the amended, you want to go to the tentative and talk about that, or?
Yeah, look at the tentative and see if there's somewhere you want money spent differently than what I covered. In the tentative budget, I budgeted for a third employee, you wanted 2 more.
Yeah, so one of the things that I asked Suzanne to put in the budget is actually 2 more employees for public works and buildings and grounds. And the reason for that is, a couple of things. We now have, Scott can confirm we have more, or at least as much road as Cameron, probably more.
It's getting scary. I'm updating the B and C roads right now, how many we have, so every time we get through roads, we like to add, we get money for how many miles we have. And I'm putting it together, and we were at about 10 miles, that's about how many miles Calvin's has. But we're between 15 and 17 right now. I've just got to average out, because the county takes care of part of Giants Lane and Lambert Lane, so I just got to get that resolved, but we're between 15 and 17 miles. So we've added over the last year and a half or so with these new subdivisions.
And that's the finished road, so that's not counting.
That's not counting Tipton Hills when it gets done, when it gets done.
You got my head nodded.
Yeah.
That's probably not counting Stewart's either.
No, it does count.
It does count.
Stewart's is in, so we're gonna count those.
And so either all of that or most of that will now be under our responsibility for snow removal and maintenance and all of those things, because those new subdivisions, once they're
Those are 50%
50% built out, then they become our responsibility to maintain. And so that's one of the reasons that I think we're getting really light on our employees in those 2 areas. The other is, with that increase in roads, that also increased all of our sewer and water infrastructure. It also, with all the park improvements, the new park, in Wild Little, and the park in Hart that becomes ours. There's an awful lot of maintenance for the summer. A new building coming online in the next year. This building, so there's going to be, and is now, a lot of work. It's going to be our responsibility, and for 2 guys to do that, like this winter, those guys get hammered on snow removal. If they are over a certain number of hours, or if they're, whatever, we have no backup at all. And so we're running guys to death. And I think it's important that, not only can we protect our guys and not, put them in unsafe situations because they're working too many hours, but also the citizens have an expectation of a certain level of service, and if we can't provide that with what we've got, I think it's important that we are able to provide that. So currently, what you're looking at in the tentative budget includes a third employee, which we had already sort of had in the budget from when Young was the mayor,
Say that again.
the third employee from when Young was mayor, because we advertised
Oh,
that job before,
yeah.
right? So, we're looking at a possibility of adding the fourth and seeing if we can make that work, but currently it's just showing the third. And then everything else is just kind of our basic stuff that we're estimating the actual tax cost for.
A question too, I remember a conversation a couple months back, we were gonna do a wage study,
That's
Yeah.
happening currently.
okay? Have we accounted for that?
No.
No,
We have as best we can without it, but that should be here soon enough to get it and make.
so
sure
we
have-
can adjust it then hopefully?
Yeah, because we won't approve this until next month.
Okay. I'd like to,
Are you all gonna be here next month on the 8th?
So yeah, the answer to that is no, but that should be really soon, we should have that really soon, and that way we'll know. We added, or Suzanne added, cost of living and some things in there,
okay,
but it certainly doesn't account for everything that may or may not be in that study, so. Anything else we need to point out there, Suzanne?
I don't think so. We may have a couple of small annexations come in that I didn't account for. And I'd rather have it come in than not, and have it in there and not come in.
Right, so we try to estimate our revenue low and our expenditures high, so that we cover our bases.
Now, the Frontier Days one, I haven't done anything on that one. Do you want to stick with the amount you did last year? I didn't know what you were doing there.
I mean, I would like to increase it if we can, but I don't know. You know, that's one of those things that every year, to put that celebration on, the costs increase by some percentage. I mean, it costs more to go to the grocery store, so everything, you know, to put that event on, everything costs more. So if we could, increase it, that would be great, but I don't know if we need to get crazy on that increase either.
You know, you're asking on sponsors the other day.
What's that?
You asked me on sponsorships the other day.
Yeah. We do have some, right? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah. So the wireless, everything is coming after 224. So it's 9. We have about 10,500.
So far in sponsorships, we have 10.5. It's pretty good. Hopefully we can get some more. Help cover these costs, so. Okay, so as far as budget goes, then you have a month to look it over. Talk with us, either myself or Suzanne, preferably Suzanne, she'll have more answers than me. If there's things you think need to change, then we can look at how we make some of those things work, so. This is really just more informational for you than anything tonight. Any other questions, concerns?
Yeah, look over it, because if there's changes, I'd rather get the changes made and done so we can just approve it.
Right.
And then it's meeting.
So, the one thing I will say is, again, we've talked about seeing if we can get that fourth employee added in there. And one of the ways that we can do that is, by taking some of what we think is, what we anticipate would be transferred to capital projects and just decrease that by what it costs per year for an employee. So it's still, I think right now it's 300 and something that we anticipate transferring. So it'd just be minus, what do we figure, 82 or $83,000 for another employee. So you'd still be transferring another 216-ish. Those are just kind of rough numbers, but. So that's one possibility, unless someone has severe heartburn with that idea.
There's like 100,000. We do 3 days, 1 like 6. And then the next one. All 3. Isn't that what we did?
Do we have the increase for, trucks and tobacco?
There's $100,000 in
Okay.
So your backhoe divided between water, sewer, and
Roads,
roads.
right? Okay. Yeah, because with all this increase in streets and maintenance requires more equipment, so. Plus on the back of the lease, on the current backhoe is up, so we've got to renegotiate a lease, and we're going with a different company because the one we've got currently, the service program is horrible. Do I understand this correctly, that we're still going in the hole in the water?
That's what
Yeah, well, I mean, it's less now than it has been, but.
well, it looks like you're getting more in the sewer.
Right. Yeah, you end up with quite a bit of extra there.
On that 10 water, one, you won't be in the hole. Look at 51.1, that's CDB grant,
51 point what?
51.1.
Oh, water grant right there.
That 200.
275, right?
Yeah, that should be over there.
Oh, okay,
Scott showed me that when he came. So that would put you in the positive.
okay. That makes me feel better.
When does Jacob's income? Yeah, so you won't be in the negative.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better. I don't like when we're in the hole.
No, me neither.
So if I'm looking at that correctly, we were in the whole 106 grand in 2023. The right up above the 275, 271 number?
That's what we budgeted, yes.
Oh, 106.
But, I don't wanna say it's misleading, but we budget for depreciation.
Mhm.
And that's really not a cost that we get each year. It's money that we try to set aside so that in the future we can do it. So, like this year, in the actual, she hasn't put the depreciation in there. So we're up 31,000, but if we put depreciation in there, we're gonna be a negative 70 something, so.
So it's not necessarily dollars, it's potential dollars.
We're not putting as much money as we should.
Right. The only way to do that is raise water rates, and I don't know if anybody's brave enough or tough enough.
I will be absent at that meeting.
Oh, no, I'm not proposing we have a meeting to discuss it. Yeah, those are never good.
I just have to leave.
Right.
I was gonna say, what's our next step, or do we?
If there's no
We just
other,
review this.
Well, I'll have to put this in the paper 2 weeks before our meeting.
Right, now we open to the public. Okay.
this is literally just the time for you to say, we don't want to spend that much money in that area, and we can start looking at those changes. So by next
Anything
month,
besides the floor you're looking at.
right, so,
Yeah.
so,
Or we need to spend more money in another.
right, so the
Yeah.
tentative budget can be
So for whatever you want.
relatively the same as what you're looking at now when we go to approve it next month.
Well,
It's just a good time now to make those changes if you
we
haven't.
gotta make sure Clayton gets a rubber mat to work inside that Frontier base.
Yeah,
He's been there a long time this year.
I was there like every hour last year.
I know. You're-
That's the precedent.
I'm expecting the same out of you this year.
Spend the night?
Maybe.
Yeah. You keep, yeah.
Hey, if that's what I have to do for Frontier Days, I'm fine with it. You guys can handle everything else. I'll stay in there. I'll stay in there all weekend.
No one said you're getting out of everything else. That's not the deal.
You still got some long games to manage.
That's right. All right.
Look at this page. You think people don't want to play games with somebody that looks like that?
You don't have to play games.
Or does that to stand there and make sure?
That's right. All right, good. Any other questions on the budget then? Any changes, any concerns? All right. Next item, Frontier Days. Shanna, where you at on your twin contest?
I've got the saddle ordered, the buckles ordered, the crowns ordered, except the queen one, that's the traveling one.
Right.
I've got judges lined up.
Good deal.
arenas.
Applications,
I
how many
did.
applications?
Yes, I've run out of applications. I
Oh,
had to have
great.
Suzanne and Sandy print me more yesterday, so.
We like that.
I did run into one problem, but I think Camus and I solved it. Their cleanup day is the same weekend that I've scheduled for the Queen thing.
Oh,
But it's not Matt, who is the worker there now.
Trevor?
Trevor said he would just move all the dumpsters to the southwest and let us have the front and that.
because you're using that arena?
Yes,
Okay.
and that arena and their new building, since we've used ours for the past 3 years, so.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing, but Trevor says he'll definitely work with me and that will be the last day of it. So they're hoping most of it's done
Right.
by that time, so.
But you've got quite a few.
Apparently, I haven't had it. Have you had some turned in yet? They've been picked up and I've had a lot of text messages saying, that was that text earlier.
It wasn't them turning them in, it was asking for it.
Asking for it then, so I haven't had them turned in yet, but
And that's coming up the first week of June?
yep, June 3rd.
Good. Hopefully, all of those people who have requested applications
Yeah.
turn them in.
Yep.
Good deal. Anything else on your end?
Well, I just wrote myself a note to ask Camus to call Hoyt for a speaker. So, I mean, it's up there. I'm gonna ask Suzanne, but it's up there. I'll see if Dory can just get,
Okay.
and maybe he can just actually leave it there until there. I don't know. He probably won't want to leave it there for a whole month, but I'll get a hold of them and if not, I'll have Suzanne call, because Suzanne can get anything accomplished.
Good. Clay? Nothing? Nothing?
Nothing right now.
Just the floor. That's it.
Well, I haven't been told what to do yet, so.
He
You know
wasn't
what?
here.
Oh,
No, I have a paper, so you can't like add stuff. But basically, the paper said help Sam, help Clint.
Well, then help.
I did talk to the people that I thought might run our cornhole thing,
Oh, yeah.
and they don't want to.
What the heck?
I know. So.
Who was that, by
like,
the way?
It was Rod Atkinson,
Oh.
Rod and Lori, but they're like, yeah, he was like, I don't think so.
Lindsay was telling me someone else does it.
Okay, who's that? I don't know. I was just thinking this, maybe Clayton can find somebody.
I was
but-
gonna remember it. I
but
didn't
all of
remember.
us just ask around because mine fell through the hole, so.
So Lindsay Stone told me of somebody, because they're in some group. that they
Oh,
do a
okay.
bunch of
I know
stuff.
they do it at the DeGioia Center on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I think.
Yeah, and I think that's the bunch.
And I was gonna go down there, but,
Do you have Lindsay's number?
I do.
Text her.
Okay. Yeah, she's helping me with the flea contest.
Right. Text her and see, because she and I talked about it at work the other day. And,
You know what? Maybe even John and Kim Leonard would want to do that.
yeah.
What are we doing on committees? Is this something they should be helping with?
Yeah, if we have, I mean, has anybody reached out to anybody that wants to be on the committee? I've got a couple that said they'd help with the rodeo, but then I don't know how much they're actually gonna help, so we'll see. Hopefully they will. If we're gonna do that, we gotta get after it, like
Right.
yesterday.
I've got a pretty solid, like, activity Monday committee going on.
Oh, good.
My wife is spearheading that.
Okay.
She's got, Cagney's gonna be there with her shack, the actual shack's going there. She's working on the farm, boat ranch, mad snacks. So
She gets, people for the vendors.
Mhm. So she's working on that, and then, so my committee's going decently well. The questions I had though was, like, I guess, budget stuff for like water slides, a raffle, like, how do we go about that? Like, is that,
Well, so there'll be a budget, for each of those things, and, well, not for each individual thing, but for.
Clayton's lawn games, that kind of stuff?
Right, there'll be, where's the Frontier Days budget?
That's why I haven't done, was asking what we wanted to do. I said that's why I hadn't pulled off my today's budget,
Oh,
to see what,
So like, in the budget, there is. I don't even see the line for that stuff. So it would just be within the,
no, very well tomorrow.
oh, so there's a junior rodeo and kids activities, so there's not a huge budget, like less than 1,000.
She's had a couple people, a couple vendors ask her, like, is it, oh, I can't remember now. They're like, is it, do we handle it and we give them 10% back, or that kind of stuff? Like, how does the
As far as
funding work with that?
vendors keep all of their sales, they just pay a booth rent.
Okay. Do we know what that booth rent is?
Suzanne is
Maybe
like,
it was,
If they need electricity, it's a little more.
yeah, if they need power, it's a little bit more, otherwise it's a little bit less. I don't know right off.
I wanted to say you guys decided not to charge vendors, so you have one here.
We may have.
Oh, I think we did last year. I don't think we charged them last year.
Did we not charge him for powers?
For power, we do
I
charge.
think for power, we charged.
Okay.
And then I think it's the $25.
And I'm comfortable with that if everyone else is, at least for now, until we get things built up again.
And what
With
was
that
it
power, don't
Huh?
What was it for power?
25
Okay. That's per day or total?
total.
for the weekend, yeah.
Okay. And then working on like a midday raffle, you gotta be present to win, that kind of thing, to keep people here during those lull hours.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so on committees then, do you have, so it's your wife got some other people that are helping her?
Yeah,
That
she's got like
are,
four.
like actually committee?
Yep.
Okay, so the only thing we have to remember with committees is they're technically doing city business. And so if they're going to meet as a group, it should be a noticed meeting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a real pain in the butt, but technically they're a body of the city, and so if they're gonna have a meeting together, it should be a noticed meeting. How do we wanna deal with that?
Should be minutes taken.
Yeah, how do we wanna deal with that? That's a real.
You go to every single one?
No.
Come on.
Some of the meeting is 8 minutes.
Yeah, can I be the person taking minutes and present the?
Yeah, I think so.
That's what I was planning on.
We just need to make sure that we're doing, it's just so that we don't get into any trouble with the Open and Public Meetings Act.
Because like I'll have to post it on the city website, the state website.
And so you just
Just
need
like all
to, so if they're gonna have a meeting, just let Suzanne know
24 hours,
a couple of days in advance, because they have to notice it.
has to be at least 24.
I know that's a real pain in the butt, I just don't want any way around it. And I'm not saying we should get around the law, I'm just saying, like,
How's it been done historically?
well, historically, we didn't,
we've never had.
this was the committee,
This kind of,
so.
and I
Berkeley
think,
has a rodeo committee, and historically they didn't do it, they kept on needing to do it, needing to do it, needing to do it, because the state code. And finally, they are doing it now.
So it's great, I'm super happy that she's got some people helping her, because that's really good. We just gotta,
I'm just terrible at this, and she's.
The only thing on like
so
water side
I
and
will
stuff
be
like
involved
that,
as much as I can, but yeah.
the trust won't cover us.
all the insurers won't cover it.
Mhm.
How do we do the bouncy houses?
We get it from them and they have to have a certificate of liability. And I called and talked to the trust when we were talking about budgeting for them.
So who carries the insurance on the bounce houses then? The company we
The
get
company
it
we
from?
get it from.
And so that might be the same thing if we had a, because the water, I'm assuming the water slides you're talking about are like the inflatable.
Yeah, same stuff we had before.
Like a bounce house deal. So it'd be the same thing, but whoever we rent them from would have to have the.
Yeah, and the impetus was, it gets hot. You know, noon, afternoon, people
Right.
go, but if you got water, you know, you got bounce houses, but you add water to it, people tend to stay, you know, parents,
Yeah.
kids and stuff.
No, I'm not against it, we just gotta make sure we.
We just gotta make sure the trust is okay for the city insurance.
Right.
More focusing on the vendor bringing their insurance in.
And after the certificate of liability.
I'll work on that.
And of course, we have to do waivers, but that's easy.
It's just like the rodeo guys coming in and give me that certificate. of
Right,
liability every year.
Okay. Good.
But yeah, so the activity stuff's pretty well squared away.
Okay.
Working on a few more vendors. You guys answered my questions on the financial stuff with vendors. So $25
If they need power.
for their, if they need power, then everything else goes, okay.
And then they just have to fill out an application, so we know who they are.
Right.
Okay.
And so we can assign them spots and know how many spots to have, and things like that. So you might want to get the applications from Suzanne so that we can either electronically send them out or however you prefer to do that. Good, great. Anything else on your list? Sam?
Not a thing.
What the heck?
I've had a couple of conversations with Heather.
Oh, okay.
We've laid out how we're gonna go about it. She's very willing to help.
Great.
More so than last year. She was just kind of relegated to the outside. But she's very excited about helping on the inside as well.
This is Heather.
She,
Right.
She's really.
she used to have
You're right, yeah.
the drink check
Yeah,
trailer thing.
okay, that's what I thought.
But she sold that. She
Right.
informed me, so she's got plenty of time on her hands now.
Oh, good.
She had some very good ideas. We've talked. My plan, I've reached out when I went to Camas Food Town.
Yeah.
To give them the sponsorship letter. I talked to the manager there about, I'm gonna take him a list. I'm planning on doing that. Probably a couple of weeks into June.
Yeah.
I got the paperwork from Suzanne of what we purchased last year, what we used.
Yeah.
Burgers, dogs, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna take it, he asked me to come in and sit with him, give him the list of what we have. He's then gonna give us some pricing of what he can do for us.
I'll increase your list too, some, you know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, I will. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna add numbers to it, sure. And then that'll give us an idea of, I don't know, I just thought it was a good idea if we could get a local vendor or somebody that's gonna buy the food, if it's reasonably priced.
Yep. And so historically, they've been really good to us.
I'm gonna reach out, I think I talked to you already, Suzanne, we have an account with, the rental yard, the city. Where did it, what's the one over here in Park City?
Diamond?
Diamond.
Oh,
And-
last year.
yeah, and talking to John, and that's where we rented the barbecue and the 2 extra fryers and the propane stuff. And we had some, the equipment that we rented from there. Okay, I wanted to reach out to them too, because I really think, Clayton knows, we were just swamped on Saturday. We need that bigger barbecue. We can't just rely on the inside grill.
See if them suckers will, do it as a sponsorship. We'll put a banner up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, at least a portion of it, maybe something.
Sure. I mean, my idea though, my thought on that is last year we rented one, it was all briquettes.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a pain in the ass for us outside.
Oh, man, I'll bet.
The temperature fluctuation and, so we kind of got behind. So I'm gonna see if they've got one that's propane.
That's what I would do.
And I think we still need the 2 extra fryers that we had outside. Even though we're not gonna do the chicken thighs that we did last year, the chicken strips for the kids that we've decided to go to this year, the fries.
Okay.
I talked with people, the 2 fryers that were inside the building on that Saturday, just cooking French fries, is just slammed. We can't get by with just those 2. So
Okay.
I've got the cost, so I'll compare it to what, see how nasty they get with this year.
It'd be great if they do some, at least a portion of that as sponsorship, though.
Check into it, see what they have to say.
That'd be killer, yeah.
I'm glad you said that. What do you want me to get from H&E?
Yeah, I was actually gonna bring that up. So H&E will give us a sponsorship of things like generators or light plants or things like that. We have done in the past some light plants in the back parking area that we can fire up at night to light up the parking area and things like that. You know, even this parking area behind the shack. So be thinking along those lines, or I guess thinking along those lines. Is there anything, do we need a generator, or is the light plants a good plan, or?
Is
what do we
HV
want?
strictly lighting and generators, or do they have the option of price comparing?
Yeah, like scissors and.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
that's
they
not-
have.
I
Yeah.
know it's
Or,
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
no.
More equipment stuff. I'll go to that, okay.
So if you don't have a need for like a big generator for something.
Lighting wise, last year, the last couple of years, well, last year we were outside, so no, I think I was good, I could see.
But if we had a big light plant in this south corner and one, if we had 2 or 3 light plants, one in this corner, one out in the big parking, I mean, it'd do nothing to help you. Plus,
Yeah.
deter theft and people tripping and falling and those
Well, we have
types
to
of
find
things.
some stuff out.
Let's see what those
Let me ask you a
are.
question, why would we need one? Let me check, we have that. In that one corner, of the parking lot, we have just multiple.
Well, I'm not saying specifically, I'm just throwing.
Well, I just need to rent one for that area. If we
Well,
could
we
just get
won't
like-
rent it, it's a sponsorship, they're gonna give us some.
Okay, never, I misunderstood. Okay, no, they give them.
Yeah, they're gonna give us some. So what I'm saying is do we have a need for a generator that they'll donate the use of, or do we have, or is the greater need the lights, or is the greater need a scissor lift, or is the greater, you know, whatever the case may be, they said, we will donate some equipment for your use for that weekend, what do you want?
Got it.
So lights is what we've done in the past,
I did have some concerns last year about the vendors, all the electrical and stuff, but I was instructed by the mayor to not worry about it, because Luke had it all handled. I don't know if our power consumption hookups out there are adequate, if we get extra vendors, because it sounds like he's doing a hell of a job of getting.
I don't know the answer to that,
So I don't know, maybe we could have, I could talk to Luke
maybe we better talk to you.
and see if.
I think the electrical's been an issue for a while.
Jan said, don't worry about it.
Jan told me not to worry about it last year. He had it handled. But
Well, maybe we'll ask Luke if we need a generator, we'll say, hey, give us 2 lights and a generator, or give us no lights and a generator, whatever. If we need a generator, let's do it. I'll just talk to Luke and see what we need,
okay.
if that works.
Just let me know about a month in advance.
Yeah, we can solve that problem pretty soon.
So I can stay on.
Anything else, Sam?
No, I think we're.
Did the Lions Club ever approach about pouring a pad? When they were
Not
down?
that I've heard.
Oh, for the trailer?
Yeah, Alan was asking about that, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned it to somebody, but,
Well, I remember you talking about it.
They want us to pour the pad, or he wants to pour the pad?
no, they wanted to do it, they were just wanting to see if we would be okay with them doing that. And I said, well, I'll talk to whoever and just see, but you'll have to, propose it.
Yeah, we gotta know
Just have
what
to
they're
get on the
thinking.
agenda and come to a meeting.
Right.
I'll ask Alan if they're still interested or not, and just see what he says.
Yeah, we could damn sure look at it, but I haven't heard anything since you brought it up.
Yeah, I think they're thinking about opening the gate too on that backside, like opening the fence.
Oh.
So there's a pass through
For
on the
vendor
back.
area,
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
yeah. So then they're coming all the way around the shack to get back to there. So I don't know, but
Yeah, is there a gate in that fence now that's locked? I didn't
No.
notice.
I think it's just a fence.
It's just a fence,
We'd have to put something.
we'd have to put a gate in.
We've just taken the mesh out before.
Oh.
Well, it's pain, but
Yeah,
we
it
need to
sounded
make something work. We can
like
do
they
it.
wanted the pad to make it more permanent, so maybe if you did that, hopefully it'd just be better. But I'll ask him, I'll talk to him.
Yeah.
See if they're still even interested in doing that.
Well, and if we need to, let's go walk up through there one of these days and talk about what we need to look at. Because now's the time to get some of those things figured out so that we have time to make changes if we need to.
Was that water heater in good shape, or was that just a patch last year?
Oh, no, it was a permanent fix.
Okay.
The water heater went out. It's-
Right, I remember that.
No, the heating, no, we replaced it. It's good.
And the fridges and freezers.
Pardon me?
Fridges and freezers.
Well, I talked to Suzanne, last year we rented an extra refrigerator. We put it in the back storage room. The only thing I remember putting in it was a case of sodas that Jeremy was using for his rodeo.
And that's important.
No, I agree, but it was just that one case for that one day, and the remainder of the time it sat empty. So I'm not so sure we need to rent one of those again this year. I think we were fine.
Well, the one thing to remember too is they were bringing in product every day. So it wasn't like we had everything there at the beginning and we had space. We
True.
were running out and they were resupplying from vehicles.
You do have a good point. She did bring in extra chicken multiple times.
But like they brought in boxes of hamburgers, they brought in bags of hot dogs, like they were resupplying from Cisco as we went. So it wasn't like, yeah, we have tons of extra space. I think they even brought extra fries and that's what that freezer was full of, that chest freezer. So,
Sounds like you want to
Okay.
get rid.
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
Just saying, we should have got rid of the other three.
All right, I don't really have anything other than, things are good. I'm still talking with Jan and his contact to hopefully give us the sponsorship that will pay for the concert. I should know that really soon, I hope. That would be awesome, because if they do that, I'm gonna do it for free again. But we'll just have to make sure in our advertisement, we say that it's brought to you by those people, so that people understand this is not free, it's paid for by somebody. Everything else I think is still planned as usual, so.
On my end, activity stuff, we still want you to push forward on trying to get the entertainment for,
For during the day on Saturday?
yeah.
I think we should, unless if somebody else has a different idea, which is.
I was in the shack the entire time.
I was just saying, I have no
Oh,
idea.
whatever, quit coming up with your excuses, Clayton.
Do we need to turn the volume up so you can hear it
Yeah.
inside the shack?
I think the local entertainment is a good plan, and the reason I think so is because it brings parents, it brings, grandparents or whatever. If you have somebody performing, they're gonna come watch. So if it's groups like the dance company or whatever, but I'm not gonna get crazy about it either. If we think we can make it work, great. If we can't, we'll figure something out. I think it's good.
You don't want Garth Brooks or anything.
Oh, hell yeah, let's do it.
I might, hey, Clint, talk to me after, I might know some people that would be interested in playing it. I don't know for sure, it's my sister-in-law's dad, they have like an old fogey band.
Hey, why are you looking at me?
But they're pretty, because you enjoy it. But they're pretty good, I don't know if they'd be interested or not, they.
He was on one tonight, isn't
Maybe
he?
it's an idea.
Yeah, those types of deals, there's, Andy Bailey up here plays, do you know him? I can reach out to him.
Yeah, if
If
they,
he's
if
interested.
you get different people.
But I think,
an hour.
I think for Saturday afternoon, the free or inexpensive type deals and or the local groups, like say the dance companies or the, kid groups or whatever, just something that is going on so that it's something that doesn't cost much money, because we've run into that in the past, sometimes starts getting expensive with different bands or whatever, Because none of those guys that do it a lot want to play for free, which I understand, I get that. It also gets cost prohibitive pretty quickly. That's it. Anything else? Questions, concerns? Okay. Any council reports other than what we already talked about, Clayton?
I have a couple of questions. Did you go to an EMS meeting this past
I did
month?
not. We got updated at the COG, but that's for the stuff being involved.
Okay, they were just, they've been talking about it.
Yeah.
They did a study and all that other stuff, so they said they had a meeting with the mayors and I didn't hear which
Yeah, that was
mayors
the
went.
COG.
So,
So I guess, yes.
yes, you did. Any updates there, like, other than they want to raise all their taxes?
Well, yeah, there's a chance that the taxes are gonna need to be raised, through the fire district. They're proposing a couple of different options. One option is that, it's all run under Park City through the county, and or the other option is that it's, run through each individual district, like South Summit Fire District, where they take over EMS and become, it's already its own taxing entity, and so they could just, again, they would have to increase taxes in order to cover those costs. I don't know what direction they're gonna go yet, I haven't seen the final report, but those are kind of the two best options, either South Summit takes it or Park City takes it and handles it all.
It seems like the preference over there is South Summit, is it the same entity? So,
Yeah, depends on who you talk to.
well, that's the sentiment I've been hearing, but
Right.
like you said, depends on who you talk to. But yeah, I just didn't know if you knew anything that they weren't sharing.
Yeah, I don't know anything that I don't think that is, that everybody else doesn't know, I don't guess. And I don't know what the final plan is going to be. I know this, my personal stance is, I don't even care who manages it, what I care about is the level of service that gets provided. And that level of service is the same no matter where you are in this county. Beyond that, whatever works the best is what we should do. I don't care about egos, I don't care about who controls what, I care about level of EMS service for the citizens, that's what I care about. So those discussions are yet to be had, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, and then field leasing bids, I keep getting asked about that too.
So, Scott,
Dakota Johns is gonna continue his lease on the 40 acres, and we'll have a bid in the paper
the 8 acres.
for the 8, it's almost 9 acres.
So
So
Cody,
we'll talk about that next month, we'll have it in the paper, tell them we'll look in the paper the next week or so.
This next week, okay,
Not this week, probably the next week.
next week.
Cody came in today?
Nope.
Not yet, but he said he was doing
Okay. So Cody has to pay us and sign the, agreement to continue the last of this lease, and then
that.
at the end of next year, we can put it out for bid also.
So
this
that,
contract will be up.
so we did discuss that, hey, this hasn't been happening, we're just gonna end that lease, and that's not the case anymore.
Well,
Is that,
long story, but yeah, so we talked about that thing, that very scenario. He came back and said, okay, what do I gotta do in order to keep it? I've still got the 1 year left. And we said, if you're gonna keep it, there's gonna be some, you're gonna have to meet the contract, you gotta sprinkle it, you gotta do this, you gotta take care of it. The wheel lines need to be taken care of. Brad prepared an agreement, and you have to pay your money now, or we're rebidding. He agreed to all of those things.
Okay.
And so we felt like rather than, at least that will get us our money for the last couple of years. We felt like that was at least work with him if he's going to follow the contract. But basically, I haven't seen the agreement, but our direction to Brad was, look, here's the deal, follow the contract, or we're gonna rebid it anyway, kind of thing.
Brad just basically wrote a letter saying, get your money to us in 50 days, follow agreement that you already signed, and if he does that, we can move forward.
okay,
And then, the 8 will be coming, so.
and that's gonna be in the park record,
Nah,
which paper?
what do you guys, there's the Summit County News, which is part of the
The beat,
Wasatch Wave.
Yeah, that was the week.
And it comes out on Wednesday,
and we put it on our website too.
and we put it on our website. I don't know papers anymore, which reaches people more, the Summit County News or the Park Record?
I don't know.
I see the Summit County News around, I don't really see the park record around very much.
I deliver them both. It just depends on who gets them. Some people get them both.
If I tell them and they ask me, hey, we're gonna have it on our
They're gonna
website,
go buy one, yeah.
are we gonna put it on our front page, like,
Yeah.
where we have the announcement, or are they gonna have to go find it in like notices?
No, it should be on the front page.
Okay, and that should be good enough for the people I'm talking to.
'Cause I think we should put it in the,
We used to use the way in the Byron one, the park record, so I don't care.
I don't care either, whatever,
Yeah.
I think,
whatever the farming folk think's gonna reach the right people, that's all.
Yeah,
And
So I
maybe
think-
that's the county one.
if we're trying to reach more local people, I think the way, or the news, something it is.
Yeah, the record is probably over Park City.
The park record, if we're trying to reach more, like when we're doing contractors, we're trying to get people outside the valley, then we put in the park record.
Okay.
So let's do that on this one, let's go to
Something
the,
you can do.
I think that's probably reasonable.
Yes. So,
My questions.
we might be able to have it in. I just remember, if we get it by Monday at noon, we can have it in on us.
That'd be cool. Shannon, you got anything?
I'm good.
Clint, you got anything? Sam?
I agree.
All right. We got the final reports, engineer, you got any reports?
Just, working on a tank, we had some rock, they've been
I heard about their hammering on
getting the rock hammered out, they're getting pretty close. I'm surprised I've only had, one person ask me about what's going on up
it.
there.
I've had 4 or 5.
Have you? I'm just curious if anybody's.
Got my butt chewed for a big old eyesore, I'm like, relax, it'll be fixed.
We go back, but it's kinda.
It'll change it a little, but it'll be back, relax.
If they think that's ugly, just send them up by my house.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, ooh, let's do another tank.
You can't win, you know it, you can't win.
Put another subdivision, let's just put 100,000 in them.
Yeah, let's do that.
Other than that, we got the UDOT grant. We're working on getting the CDBG grant that is gonna replace the water line at 1000 East, and we'll redo the asphalt from 35 to where we ended last year.
Right.
So that'll be working on this fall. And then just going with that, so.
Great. Okay, I don't have any reports that I can think of.
Well, back on you, Scott, I keep getting hit, multiple people about the, foothills of Francis Gate stuff, about just overall, I've got a 17 paragraph letter I got from a concerned citizen. We talked last time about it. You said that if you do it wrong, we're gonna tear it out, that kind of thing. I personally think, is there something we can do to have them do it right the first time? I feel like if they do a bunch of things wrong and we have them tear it out, we might miss one thing they're gonna tear out.
Well, the problem is if we go up there and we say, this is how you do compaction, and they do compaction like that, they said, we did what you told us, now you're telling us it's wrong. Now you're telling me, you can't tell me because you told me how to do it, I followed your orders, I followed your direction, it failed, I'm not redoing it because I did what you said. So they do compaction their way, and it doesn't meet specifications, they gotta tear it out and try it again. So,
Well, and to be clear, what we're telling them they would have to rip out is not the installation of the pipe, not the grade of the pipe, not
yeah.
the installation itself. The only thing that they would have to rip out is the compaction, which isn't all that uncommon. I've worked on several jobs where we've thrown a bunch of fill back in trenches and then went back and cleaned them out and put import just because we knew it wasn't gonna pass inspection, it wasn't gonna pass compaction. So we had to be able to get across and move and do other things. And so we covered the pipe and then dug it back down to the bed and recompact it again. So it's not a complete rip out of the installation. It's just, the only thing we're having to rip out is the compaction test on the trenches or the roads.
And
If that makes sense.
do you feel confident that, mean, is there a level of, I guess, supervision that's going on up there? Making sure that they're not going, because I feel like if they do it wrong, we're gonna tear it out. If they do 10 things wrong, we might catch 7 things and they tear them out. But those other 3 things are gonna affect the citizens, right?
Yeah, we're up there, we watch them, I can stop by there once or twice a day when I'm up there, got an inspector up there. Luke goes by. So I think at the end of the day, we'll get a quality product, but sometimes it takes a little bit more work on their part to redo things once or twice to get it right.
And are you confident that they are doing those things, that it's not gonna get to, 85% done with whatever they're doing, and then they're causing problems?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, like, the reason I wanted to be a councilman was be able to help with these things, and be able to be a speaker for these complaints. But I'm getting these long letters.
Who's it from?
I mean, I talk about Kirkham a lot, but there's a couple other ones that don't really want to be. They said, hey, this is your job, we don't want to be voiced, we don't want our names out there. But there's 4 of them, 4 people, including Bob, that are really concerned, and they're watching that. And I mean, to be honest, had Bob not noticed a couple things last 2 months, his house would have been flooded out. I saw you were up there, Jeremy, and it's Shannon, you were there.
It was coming down fast.
It's a significant concern.
It is.
And me, I mean, as a, relatively new person here, I'm concerned. I feel like there's a lot of oversight, and they don't seem to know what they're doing over there. I just want to be able to provide that, I guess, comfort level to most citizens of the city, and show them that I can provide the answers to them, but they're not feeling that.
And that's why I say if there's something that I can do to help talk with some of them, to help them feel more comfortable, I'd be happy to do that. That's why I ask who it is, stuff like that. Other than that, I guess I don't know what else to tell them. We're watching them. They're having tests done, compaction tests done, things like that.
There's inspectors on site.
Yeah, so I don't know what else to help them make them feel comfortable.
And maybe you and I can get together offline and kind of go over some of these other,
Yeah, be happy to.
issues, but like a 7-foot berm thrown up there, 0 compaction done on it. I just want to make sure that everyone's comfortable with it. And
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
yeah, and I don't love the answer of, well, if they do it wrong, we'll make them tear it out again. I personally would rather us enforce than do it right the first time. Nobody wins when the developer doesn't win,
But
we don't
and
win.
tell them to do the compaction, they get the compaction done, the guy comes in and do the test, it fails, then they have to tear it out and do it again. I can't, I can watch them do the compaction and use the sheet foot roller, roll it so many times, you watch it, and should they have gone 6 times instead of 4? Maybe, but that's what they need to do when they get done, the compaction test comes, and it fails, then they have to redo it. If it passes, we move on.
Do we get a copy of that? Do we
Yes.
require a copy of that compaction test?
Yes,
Yeah, because
If
we're
we
controlling.
specify 90% or 95?
95%.
95 or better.
So.
Wow, there's
So I guess that's what I'm saying, we watch them, I don't sit there and tell them you have to make another pass at your sheet with roller or your roller go by, because when I'm telling them, they say, okay, you told me you had to do 10 passes, it didn't pass. I'm not doing it anymore, I did what you told me.
Right.
So we watch them, they do their compaction, and if it fails, we tell them to tear it out and redo it. I don't know how to get around that.
Well, and the city should never be in the business of telling contractors how to do their job, if that makes sense. So regularly, a contractor will begin building a project and they'll do something they know they have to change, much like Wes Harwood's project out here. brought in a bunch of fill, spread it all out, made a big pad. Now they've pushed it all up because they knew all that fill wasn't gonna pass compaction, they couldn't build on it, they had to clean it up, they had to do something different. So now I would never have done that if I were the contractor, but they've, you know, they can kind of do their work as they need to do without us. We don't dictate how they do it or the order in which they do it, we just dictate that the quality has to meet standard before it's approved.
Yeah, but I think it'd be good if we can get together and talk, look at these issues.
The other thing is if people who are complaining need to be encouraged to give the name. I mean, it doesn't, if you're a concerned citizen and you have a problem, they should be able to stand up and say, I have a problem, not someone has a problem, if that makes sense. It's real difficult to address anonymous complaints.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and I'm 100% willing to, you know, be the voice for people.
Sure.
Right? Like these aren't it doesn't 100% affect me. You know, it might at one point, but I just hear this, and that was my impetus to be part of this council, to help with that, because
Let's meet and talk about it and resolve it.
I really appreciate that. Just to be noted, the standard of if they do it wrong, well, they'll tear it out. I think it's a good standard and SOP for us as a council, as a city, to say, no, you do it right the first time, and we hold you to that standard, instead of fix it later, because I've noticed in my lifetime, probably the shortest of everybody here, lifetime, you know, that people miss things. You might get 8 out of 10, and then 2 things that we don't hit because we don't hold them to accountable, hold them to the fire real time. We miss that, and I
That's
don't
why
know.
we've told them all along up front, you gotta get compaction on this or else you're not getting accepted. And they've thrown in material because they know it's been muddy and they put it in, and when they're gonna have to take it back out, everybody sees that as, oh, they're throwing it in, they're doing it wrong, but they don't wanna leave that trench open because they wanna move on and do some other things, knowing they gotta come back and get it filled when it's not so moist and wet, and they come back, recondition it, put it in, and compact. But people see that and say, oh, look, they're letting me get away with everything. But we're watching, we're seeing what they're doing, and we're trying to make sure that we get the compaction we need.
Yeah, and to be fair, you know, Bob's not talking to the top dog every time he's going there, but he hears from, you know, the guy running the dozer or the, you know, whatever, and he's like, oh, we don't have plans on taking this out. Like, he doesn't know everything, so that kind of thing. And I know there's that level to it, but I just, it's my, you know, the reason I want to be here is to be a voice for each citizen, so.
So, and like I say, let's get together and resolve them and move forward.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Good deal. Anyone else? I don't have any, so I'll take the most important motion of the night.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good deal, thank you. You guys were supposed to complex them.
Be outside. Yeah. Water. We have a meeting.
Yes.
I don't know if you've been informed.
Too long. Yeah.
How many seconds?
Doors.
20
Sorry about
seconds.
that.
You told me the 22nd.
It is 20 seconds, whatever I told you.
I'm asking if they